Can you start a tax-free US company right from home and do business online? In this video, we'll show you how to use US LLC to start a tax-free US company without setting foot in the US. We promise this is the best invested 10 minutes of your time if you plan to start a business online. What's up guys, this is Josh from startfleet.io. We help global entrepreneurs start and run their online businesses from anywhere in the world. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons so we can give you even more tips and tricks on how to build a cross-border online business as a global entrepreneur. And before we get to today's topic, we want to remind you that this video is for non-US residents only. If you're a US citizen or resident, then you can skip this video, but be sure to check out our other videos. So, have you heard of the limited liability company in the United States? The LLC structure in the United States is a very unique structure that's different from other corporate structures in other countries. It's not a typical corporate structure, and many entrepreneurs from around the world who are not US residents have used it to form a tax-free US company and do business online. Now, the first question that may come to your mind now is why should you consider the US as an option for forming an LLC? Well, the answer to that question is that you can consider other places like Hong Kong, Estonia, or Singapore. But if you choose those places, you're missing out on a great opportunity as an entrepreneur to create a low-maintenance and tax-free business structure in a first-world jurisdiction. Plus, you'd be missing out on the chance to do business as a US company with amazing banking options, extensive payment processing choices like Stripe and PayPal, a great reputation, and of course, access to some of the largest consumer markets in the world. If you want to start a business from outside the US, you need to know the two main types of US corporate structures. The first is the corporation. The second is the limited liability company. Before you can better understand the LLC, we must first talk about the corporation. A corporation is a legal entity that's distinct from US law from the natural persons who control or manage it. When a state issues a certificate of incorporation to a legal entity, it can sue and be sued, sign contracts, and other legal documents. The best thing about corporations is that the shareholders of a corporation are generally not liable for the corporation's obligations, as long as they perform their duties as directors or officers under the organization's bylaws. This protection is called limited liability. The corporation is almost identical to similar corporate structures in other countries, such as the LTD in the United Kingdom, or the SARL in France, and the PT in Indonesia. A US corporation pays corporate income tax at the corporate level. The current federal corporate tax rate is 21%, although state corporate tax rates vary from state to state and are paid to the state in which the corporation is incorporated. After you pay the corporate income tax, you receive the profits you draw as dividends. As a shareholder, you must also pay taxes on those dividends. Now that you know what a corporation is, let's take a little detour and take a look at the structure of a partnership. Understanding the concept of a partnership will help you to better understand later what a limited liability company is and how it differs from a corporation. A partnership is a legal entity formed by two or more people who are called partners. There are different types of partnerships, but generally, the partners of a partnership have unlimited liability unless you choose a limited liability partnership. Unlimited liability means that a business owner bears full legal responsibility for all debts and damages arising from the business. Although a partnership is a legal entity, it is not a separate taxable entity and isn't subject to taxation. Instead, it's treated as a pass-through entity, where profits and losses are distributed to the partners and each partner is subject to personal income tax. In essence, the company isn't taxed. Instead, the partners' profits are taxed individually. Finally, we'll talk about what you all wanted to hear about, the LLC. Many countries have corporations or partnerships, but most of them lack something that looks like the US LLC. The LLC is a legal entity similar to a corporation and a partnership in the United States. The LLC is a hybrid structure that combines the advantages of partnerships and corporations. It provides the protection of limited liability of a corporation, while offering the flexibility of pass-through taxation as a partnership. Members are the owners of a limited liability company. Individuals or organizations can be members of a US LLC. Let's talk about the tax benefits of a US LLC for foreigners. As we mentioned earlier, the LLC itself is considered a disregarded entity by the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS for short. In a disregarded entity, income and losses are passed through to the owners of the LLC, who then report their share of the LLC's profits on their personal tax returns. The IRS considers your US LLC a transparent entity and therefore doesn't tax it. Instead, the IRS examines you, the LLC owner, and tries to determine if you are taxable. For foreigners not living in the United States, this seemingly insignificant feature of pass-through taxation is a huge benefit. If you don't have US citizenship or a US green card, or don't meet the US substantial presence test, you're considered a non-resident alien from the perspective of IRS. Yes, you heard right. You're considered an alien. That's an archaic term, but don't let it distract you, because that's the best position you could be in. As a non-resident alien, you'll only be taxed if your LLC operates a US trade or business and has income from US sources that are actually connected to that US trade or business. US trade or business, source of income, and effectively connected income are tax concepts in the US tax code. We'll try to explain them as best as we can in this video, but if you want to read more about them, then please follow the link in the description. Generally, your LLC is considered to be engaging in a US trade or business, ETBUS for short, if you've at least one dependent agent in the US. Dependent agents can be employees or contractors who work exclusively for you, and this agent you hire contributes substantially to your business. You're also considered an ETBUS if you've established a physical presence in the United States. The second point that you need to be familiar with is the concept of source of income. From a US perspective, non-resident aliens are generally taxed only on their income in the United States, not on their income sourced abroad. In most cases, the United States doesn't tax income from foreign source income. The concept of source of income isn't what you may think. For example, if you sell consulting services from your home country to a client in the United States, that income is considered foreign income, even if your US client deposited the money into your US bank account. In order for your LLC to not be taxable in the US, you must first make sure that your LLC isn't ETBUS. And second, if you are ETBUS, you must make sure that this income isn't US source income. The first line of defense is always whether you're ETBUS. And even if you have US source income, but your LLC is not regarded as ETBUS, you aren't taxable. The concept of ETBUS can sometimes be quite complicated, but you can read more about it in our article. Just remember to click the link to the article in that description. Sometimes the definition of ETBUS isn't so clear. In this case, you can check if your country has a tax treaty with the United States. If there's an agreement between the two countries, you can use the concept of permanent establishment to override the concept of ETBUS and give you a higher threshold at which you're considered taxable. The reason for this is that the permanent establishment clause in the tax treaty overrides the ETBUS definition in the US Internal Revenue Code. In international taxation, the concept of a permanent establishment refers to a company that has a fixed place of business in another country or meets another criteria set forth in the tax treaty and is subject to income tax in that other country. If you don't have PE in the US, you're protected by the tax treaty between your country and the US, so you aren't liable for taxes. You can find out if your country has a tax treaty with the US by reading our article with the link in the description. The definition of permanent establishment also includes whether you employ dependent agents, so make sure that you don't hire employees or exclusive contractors for your LLC. I hope you understand by now that forming an LLC in the US doesn't mean you automatically have to pay taxes. You only have to pay taxes if your LLC carries on a US trade or business, and you have income from US sources that's connected with US trade or business. And don't forget that the tax treaty overrides the threshold for a US trade or business through the concept of permanent establishment. In summary, you should avoid employing people in the US, having US citizens as members, and not residing in the US for more than 120 days per year if you want to make your foreign business US LLC tax-free. Of course, the LLC isn't necessarily the answer for everything. If you're looking for angels or VC investments in the US, or intend to issue stock options to your employees, the LLC may not be the right choice for you. You should instead opt for the structure of a Delaware corporation. When you form a corporation, you're automatically subject to tax. The good thing is that you can form a Delaware LLC first, and then convert it into a corporation when you need to prepare to raise venture capital. Before we end our video, I just want to point out that this isn't legal advice. We recommend that you read our article to learn more about this topic. If you plan to set up your US company as a foreigner with bank accounts and get access to Stripe and PayPal without setting foot in the US, visit our website at startfleet.io or email us at hello@startfleet.io for more information. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click like and the bell icon to be notified for all our future videos. We'll see you next time.